I'm your host, Jeremy Begley, and today I'm sitting down with one of the most respected minds in home performance and building science. Brynn Cooksey is owner and general manager of Air Doctors Heating and Cooling out of Belleville, Michigan. Brynn's been doing this work for over 20 years, starting in his family's heating and cooling business and growing into one of the country's top instructors in HVAC and building performance. He's an ESCO Top 25 Most Influential HVAC-R Instructor of 2024, a business owner, and a true student of the craft. Today, we're talking about how HVAC contractors can evolve into home performance pros. From integrating building science principles and energy audits to using tech like MeasureQuick to boost accuracy and technician confidence, Brynn's team has seen callbacks drop to just 0.5%, which is pretty wild. We're also talking about training the next generation of techs, collaborating with utilities, and what the future looks like when tools like LIDAR make load calculations faster, smarter, and more accurate. Let's get into it. Brynn Cooksey, welcome to HVAC ADHD. Brynn is an HVAC and home performance expert. He's been making waves in the training industry and the content creation a little bit. We've been seeing his name out there. I wasn't super familiar with Brynn, but I did have a chance to meet him in person at the MeasureQuick Train the Trainer and got to know a little bit about him and his business. And I think it's going to be a great conversation here today. So, Brynn, you were saying at the MeasureQuick training that you weren't always doing home performance. Tell us how you got into that.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Jeremy. Before we start, I want to just send a shout out and prayers to the Weldon House family. The training you just mentioned, you and I and Dan were in that together, and we had an excellent time. And I think I learned more about heat pumps in a few days and in weeks. Just by hanging around Dan. So I just wanted to give my condolences to his family. But to answer your question, again, thank you for letting me come on your podcast.
Absolutely.
I started just like most people. My father owned a heating and cooling business. My parents did. And then I kind of worked with them, kind of grew up in a business. When I started contracting, what got me into home performance was I was doing just the heating and cooling portion of a lot of home retrofits. And what happened, a lot of program administrators, different organizations I was working with or working for, they would say, "Hey, Brynn, do you know anybody who does shell work or installation work?" And I said, no, I didn't know too many people that did that kind of work. In the end, a few months passed and they'll say, "Hey, Brynn, do you know anybody who does shell work or installation work?" And it's like, no, not really. But then I'm thinking to myself, they're asking me, obviously, because there must be a need. So pretty much I found out what it would take to become a shell contractor. And I was already kind of familiar with building science at that point. So I just incorporated the shell part of our business. So now we're a total home performance contracting business, not just heating and cooling.
So tell us a little bit about what that transition looked like. Last week I had Rob Minnick on, and he's an old school HVAC guy that brought home performance into his business in the early 2000s. And he was sort of telling us what it looked like to bring home performance then into the HVAC world. So tell us what it looked like. Like, how did your people react to it? What kind of training did you have to do in-house? Was it inside out training or just a little bit? How did that all look when you were adding that into your day to day?
Sure. Very good question. So together with the staff, one of the things that kind of prompted that was, you familiar with in heating and cooling, you have what are called the shoulder seasons, where your revenues would kind of drop off when it's pretty mild outside. In Michigan, that happens to be September and kind of the April timeframe. So you have to market really well and be set up to kind of overcome those slow seasons. And what we wanted to do, we were already BPI certified and we were doing energy audits. We just were not doing the shell part of it. So we just did the research of what it would take to do the shell. We looked at the equipment. What equipment do we need to buy? We looked at what type of revenue or profit margins can be made. We did a competitor study to see what competitors were in our area. So we probably had about a year or two of just research, just doing some intel to see what it would take for us to actually go and launch a shell division. Once we got the proper equipment in place and we did the proper training, we launched it. And we started out with the weatherization agencies, where the weatherization agencies, their work is audited by a post-energy auditor that does quality assurance. And when they did quality assurance, we got to kind of see what our mistakes were, kind of get the learning curve. And once we perfected it, that's when we kind of launched it out to the private market. So that's exactly kind of our path of how we integrated the shell part into our home performance business.
So take me back one step before that. When did you guys start doing energy audits? Were you always an HVAC energy audit company, or did you add that at some point, then decide to add in the shell stuff?
So about 20 years ago, I took a energy audit course through BPI at a local community college, and I had incorporated energy efficiency into our stuff. So we were slowly implementing building science into it. So we started doing blower door testing for customers. We started doing infrared scans using blower door testing. We started using combustion analyzers on every call. So slowly but surely over that time frame, we were adding different components to it. So we were familiar with the shell work, and actually started doing it. We did that about 5 years ago.
Okay. So when you guys first, as you're doing the energy audits and things like that, I'm just super interested in your in-house process with all that, because I know guys, HVAC shops, they think about adding home performance, but they don't ever really a lot of times find a flow where it flows with their day-to-day. So when you guys are integrating that with your day-to-day work, what does that look like? Do your CSRs answer the phone a certain way? Do they know to look at these home performance clues in the conversations that are coming in and know that that's going to, this tech's going to need to take a blower door? How does all that work for you guys?
Sure. Very good question. One of the things we did to kind of help drive the business, we tried to sell energy audits. We partnered up with locally. We have a green bank called Michigan Saves, and they do education and outreach for customers that will educate customers on what an audit is, and we will get leads that way. And then the utility companies, there's two major ones in our area. They both marketed energy audits as well. So when they market energy audits, they have a list of trade allies or performance contractors that will do the work, and we would get leads that way. And our goal was basically to give the customer enough information to get them to invest in the energy audit. Once they invest in the energy audit, we're able to show them what their problems are. And to remove the risk from them, we basically make the audit where if they do buy a solution, they get the audit money back. They get it credited towards their project, just so that they, one, it helped us to get serious customers. And then two, there was no risk. Once the audit was done, they see their problems, they want to move forward with a heat pump, they get the total audit price back. And then another thing that helped too, oftentimes we can make the audit really cheap because there was always some type of utility rebate or incentive to do the energy audit. And currently now there's still a tax credit. It will expire the end of this year, but there's a tax credit for the energy audit as well. So that was kind of what we trained the staff to do if customers were interested in energy efficiency or better comfort, to try to sell an energy audit. Other things, when techs were in the field, they were trained to look at problems. So if they were responding to a heating and cooling issue, they would do building science testing using apps like MeasureQuick, which we'll talk about in a little bit. They would look for other issues and start the conversation, maybe to do a deeper dive in some of those problems. So it was a total culture change, one from the CSR's understanding that if we can get the audit done, typically customers are interested in that. And then also the techs, if they are trying to look for problems, they can start the conversation for an audit. So the key piece of our business is the energy audit.
Do you see your techs having a lot of aha moments when they integrate the building science, especially new guys that you bring in from other companies and are not really used to using building science out in the field and stuff like that? Do you see them have that one moment where man, yeah, this stuff makes sense, and to really start being able to diagnose problems out in the field using that type of thinking?
Yes, we do. Matter of fact, I get a kick out of it because oftentimes when they're troubleshooting different things, they'll find out that, hey, I didn't even know I can measure that. Or they're now starting to find problems that they have in their house. So we ran into just a lot of stuff where the guys are now interested in taking these measurements, and they're totally happy about what they're finding.
So take us now, fast forward. What we were at the training for was a trainer for MeasureQuick, and you were saying that ever since you guys pinned MeasureQuick into your workflow on a day-to-day basis, that it just changed everything around. So first off, if people don't know by now, let them know what MeasureQuick is, and then tell us a little bit of how you're using it and how it's changed your shop.
Sure. MeasureQuick is a third-party software where basically it's a platform that you can hook up smart tools, Bluetooth-enabled tools like hygrometers or electrical meters or static pressure manometers, all these various tools that are Bluetooth enabled. The platform allows you to connect that Bluetooth enabled tool to this platform, and it actually would do a lot of the evaluation for you. We implemented MeasureQuick in our business about 5 years ago, and one of the things I liked about it immediately, especially during commissioning, I was able to capture all the readings from day one and create a report. So when we will create a report, I can go back to that customer's house and look at that report to see if anything changed. And it was pretty nice doing a maintenance call, or if we had warranty issues, we had to prove that we were able to actually commission it. Another thing that I liked about it, as you know, we have a workforce shortage. There's not enough new technicians coming into the industry. And what happens, somewhere I read recently, for every 8 technicians that are leaving, it's only 1 replacing it. So we had to get younger techs who maybe were not experienced, but we can train them well enough to where they were safe and they understood what they were doing. And one of the ways we were able to fast track our business was to get them the smart probes in their hand and use MeasureQuick to guide them into troubleshooting. And that helped because then I could take a 18, 19-year-old student fresh out of school, again, make sure they're safe, make sure that training is there, but then they can take the probes, they can deploy them, and they can get good, accurate diagnostic and show it to the customer, and the customer will actually trust the diagnostics. That was huge for us. We were able to hire relatively younger and still be productive. It gave the technicians confidence. A newer technician may not be confident as far as selling or just with their diagnosis in general. So when they had the backup of MeasureQuick and that evaluation, they're able to use it. So we've been using it, and now it's a part of our workflow. So right now, every service call that our techs do, they have to test in and test out. They'll test in on the service call, show the customer their issues, and get a score. They'll show the customer their issues with their system, and then they'll test out after we make our repair. And the goal is to get some kind of improvement. When we do our workflows for new systems, we'll commission it and benchmark it. So now when a new system is installed and we done our due diligence with building science, I've modified the duct system, I've sized it properly. Now we can show customers, hey, you have a quality install and here's the proof. All right. The nice thing about MeasureQuick, you really can't get scores out of it unless you have all your probes connected to it. So it's been huge for our business. We are able to slow down and actually get bigger service and install tickets because we're finding more problems. So I absolutely swear on MeasureQuick, and it's transformed our business big time.
Tell me the statistic that you were telling us about the callbacks.
Sure. We can brag that we have about 0.5% in callback. So we expect our technicians to make 1 error every 200 calls. So 1% would be 1 out of 100. So we're getting about 1 out of every 200 calls just because the probes and the data, they help you identify what problems, and it really guides the technician to the proper diagnostics. So as far as callbacks, we really don't give many. And if we do, it's an open culture here at our office where callbacks, we talk about them. We're upfront. We talk about them in our meetings just to make sure that how can we prevent that callback from happening again with continuous training. So yeah, we have a very low callback rating due in part to MeasureQuick.
One of the things that, one thing to put a pin in that, tell me the context of that. So what's the national average on callbacks versus your guys' callback average?
So I've always heard 8 to 10. And when we were hanging out with Joe Medosh at in Colorado there for a MeasureQuick training, he was saying some companies are high as 15. And I was always taught that over 2%, we needed to retrain the technician, maybe get the bugs out. So we're really aggressive as far as our callback rating.
Perfect segue. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was ongoing training. That's one thing I talked about with Rob Minix. I was like, how did you guys, as you're hiring new people, how do you keep the home performance up and going? And I was telling him, one of the guys I talked to, he said, either you got to do training, because either you're going to be training your people the way that you want them to do things and the way they should be doing them, or the guys coming in off the streets are going to be training them to do things the way they think they should be done. And so, what is your guys' ongoing training look like there? Like, how important is it? How do you structure it? Stuff like that.
Sure. I try to take a step back and just look at the business from as far back as I can and just look at trends. So I look at trends from maybe software getting inputted incorrectly, or I look at trends, maybe certain notes that you'll see trends. I try to look at trends, and what those trends will do, I'll create a ongoing training program, basically where the techs come in for 1 hour or less a week, and we just talk about specifically what trends we're seeing. So I'll give you a prime example. We're doing a bunch of energy audits for other customers, and we're having some issues as far as some of the data collection. So like my meeting tomorrow is specifically on that part. Something small, hour or less, we won't do anything too damaging to production, but it's basically just to kind of streamline that process. So we'll bring them in just to regroup. We do that every week. If we get slower, let's say the shoulder seasons, we still see a dip. During those dips, we try to get more aggressive training done. Like we'll do a MeasureQuick training one day. We'll do maybe some NCI training, National Comfort Institute. We'll do other training that may take 1, 2, or several days. We'll do that when it's a little bit slower. That way, when the busy season is here, we can focus on making money.
What do you do during the busy season? You do morning meetings, or you do wrap-ups, or how do you handle it just to keep the guys on their toes during the busy season when they're having to run in and out so much?
Very good question. So we do, we'll get them in an hour before their shift, usually on Tuesdays. Tuesdays is typically the day, like maybe a half hour or hour early before they start, just to kind of get them in and out of the training before they can to get it done, but then like I said, it won't damage production. So we typically like to start an hour earlier on that day.
Okay, cool. So tell me, before I get in, I'm going to ask you a little bit about other training you do, but before we get into that, tell me your biggest home performance win. What's your like, if you're thinking back and you're like, this one sticks out, man, this is, this helped this person this way, or we solved this problem or something like that. What do you think your biggest win would be?
I had, one of my biggest wins is with a customer. It was an indoor air quality driven issue. So they had called us for an energy audit, and we went there and we had did some a consultation, and we did the audit. And when we did the audit, a part of our audits, we do indoor air quality testing. So we test using a machine called AirVice, where we set the tester out and it collects parameters and tells us what's going on with indoor air quality. We not only did the energy audit and had some energy retrofits. What I'm really proud of is that the customer recently had taken her small child to the ER because he had some respiratory distress. And when we were done working, we did a bunch of stuff, but we put in an ERV, energy recovery ventilator. And a couple weeks after that, she called me and told me that her son really didn't need his asthma medication anymore. Like the fresh air was helping his respiratory issues. And that was a total win. Like anytime you can help somebody with that kind of issue, it's always good to hear that kind of feedback. So that's one of my most favorite ones.
I agree. And that's so funny. I have a similar story that people were allergists and they couldn't even solve their own son's allergy problems because there was so much infiltration and duct leakage and all those things going on. And, they were very thankful. So yeah, those are always, when you have those type where you can affect somebody's day-to-day life like that, and you did it, like those are the most rewarding situations that you have when you're doing home performance, because you really are changing the dynamic of how people live by fixing their home. Like AC is a box in, a box out. It replaces their comfort. It's something they expect. But the results that they get from home performance are usually very unexpected. They don't even know really what to think when you're in there doing the stuff a lot of times. And then they live in it and they're like blown away if you did your job the right way.
I agree 100%. I love the business we're in. It's you get to solve not only energy problems, but comfort problems and, in some cases, respiratory health problems. So I love the the impact that we can have on certain people's lives. So I agree with you 100%.
This week's episode is brought to you by NoSo. Ready to 10x your technicians? Field service teams are missing out on revenue. NoSo's AI ensures you capture every opportunity and finish every job with zero paperwork. From diagnosing tricky issues on site to automatically writing up job reports, their AI assistant, NoSo, supports your technicians at every step. To learn more about NoSo, click the link in our show notes or head to their website at noso.so. I know that you're doing a lot, or you're also doing additional training. You said that you were doing some of the residential design for quality install classes for ACA and other things. Tell us a little bit about your training and how that's rewarding for you and what you got going on there.
Sure. So when I left trade school, I didn't get the training I felt I needed for doing a great job with customers. And that's I went to a great trade school and I had great instructors. So it's not nothing negative towards them. It's just I think a lot of trade schools don't have the time or the focus to teach a lot of the design stuff. So when I took my building science class personally, it was a pretty big shock to the ego because it was I was learning about things that I was missing on every call just because I didn't have the knowledge of it. So I always told myself I enjoy the business so much I like to talk about it. If I ever train, I was going to make a point to train people with the skills that they're not getting. So HVAC, our training business, it's a licensed post-secondary school here in Southeast Michigan. And what we're doing now, we partner with a lot of different organizations. We partner with utility companies to do a lot of workforce training. Just recently, I was just training some contractors in Michigan to help them use building performance as a profit center. Yes, it's building science, and we nerd out, but it's actually it can be really a revenue driver in your business. So using a low calc duct design, doing all that kind of training and how to actually use it to better yourself, your business. When I started training, I wanted to have that focus where if I can give contractors the skills and tools they need so that they can be successful and they can prevent callbacks or reduce them as much as possible, or even worse, litigation. I feel bad for some contractors who learn their lesson like a low calc just because they have to replace and eat that system out of their own pocket just because they didn't know. So that drives me to kind of partner up with as many organizations as possible and just kind of have a collaborative effort to offer some of this training that I feel we really don't get from the trade school system.
Do you find that a lot of the younger guys coming into the training are hungry for the technology side of it? Like, I know people used to be scared of the tech, and I just get the feeling that now the younger crowd, they're more hungry to actually work with the technology and take that step forward, where we didn't see that 10 years ago so much in our industry. People were more like, no, I don't know. I never did it that way. I don't want to use that thing.
I would agree with that. Matter of fact, one of my technicians bought MeasureQuick to me. They when they came in, they hired into our company, and this is probably about 5 years ago. We were still writing our measurements down on a piece of paper, and he brought in his own smart probes and MeasureQuick, and he showed us what it can do. And it was like, from that point on, it was like, I'm going to embrace technology as much as possible. So I agree with that. I think that's a fair statement. I think the younger generation, they're a lot more comfortable with the technology, where you and I, we're adapting to it as it changes.
Yeah, for sure. I know a lot of HVAC guys that still have filing cabinets. Like even in 2015, the HVAC company that I worked for back then, that had bought my former company out, this is so funny. They had off-site storage for their maintenance contract customers that they serviced, because they had so many of them over the years and they never digitized anything. So they had like 2 office fulls of just filing cabinets there, and then off-site they had a whole entire storage bin where they would literally employ a courier 24 hours a day to run back and forth from the storage bin to grab the files that they would need when they were going out to do service and maintenance for their service contracts. They had Wintac, and hard WinTAC is to keep up if you ever went down that road before. They never used it correctly. But yeah, like I think that this technology era that we're in right here with HVAC, with things like MeasureQuick and Conduit Tech and all these different little pieces that people can plug in, it just makes, like you were saying before, you can take an OK or a brand new tech and get pretty comfortable with having him out in the field as long as you're there with the technology to guide them that way.
And it's a win-win. Customers benefit that they're getting better and more consistent service, and contractors win. They're getting less callbacks, and they're getting more confident tech. So the technology, we totally embrace it. It's a win all the way around. Everybody wins.
Have you been using anything like Conduit Tech or any of that walkthrough Manual J software yet?
Sure. We have a good relationship with Amply. We use their product a lot, and we incorporate it where every technician has it in their tablet, so that if the technician is able to show a customer that it might be worthwhile to replace their system, they can do a load calc right then and there, and then we can get the ball rolling. So we try to make the technology be quick for us also. We don't want a bunch of delays. If the customer's ready to go, let's do a load calc, and then we can get rolling just from there.
Yeah, with that, I think one of the things, and you can tell me how you feel about this, but those softwares, Amply, Conduit Tech, they all have the easy button on them where they have a lot of the information already built into it. And where it's using different data points, whether it's real estate, Zillow type stuff, or local municipality information or whatever, to say, hey, this is the historic data. This is what we think this house has. This is the insulation it probably has. This is that. I think the guys, if they start leaning on that side of it too much, they're missing big opportunities that will be exposed if they were doing the load calculation more detailed the way that I think Manual J intended it to be.
I agree with you. That's a very good point. Like, even though those assumptions can be great, we basically make sure that, hey, you can only use those kind of assumptions if it's completely infeasible for you to gather the actual physical data. Like, I want you to put your eyes in the attic and look at the attic insulation. I want you to take a tape measure and measure it. I want you to look at the wall insulation. I want you to run a blower door. Every truck we have has a blower door on it. So you're going to run a blower door test, So yeah, we try to be real deliberate and specific about getting that information, because as great as Conduit and Amply and the other software programs are, it's garbage in, garbage out. If you don't put good information in it, you're going to get bad information out.
100%. That's a point that I can't make enough. We actually have a class we're getting ready to teach. We're calling it permanent load reduction through the eyes of Conduit Tech, where how when you teach the residential design class, they want you to use the speed sheet as sort of a teaching tool and teach it. So sort of taking that concept, but saying, hey, these guys out in the field, they're not really they're not doing this sit down design that way. So we're going to take Conduit Tech and take it step by step as a guide and say, just integrate it with home performance and say, hey, if you do it this way, here's an opportunity that you might expose. And this is what goes into that field anyway. So it's sort of like the walkthrough version of the residential design class using Conduit Tech as a field tool.
I agree with that, because even though speed sheets are great, the way of the world is headed towards LIDAR technology. That's what the techs are going to have in their hand. I think as it gets more popular, we will see the price come down. That's a lot of pushback I get back, but from a load calc perspective, I used to use software on a computer or a tablet, and I would do a survey, come with a bunch of notes, and take it back to the office. So it was pretty laborious. But now with that stuff, you can get a load calc, 20, 30 minutes and you're done.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a beautiful thing for sure. I mean, I've used it because I was the same, I would be the guy with my laptop on the table and a laser measurer, measuring up the house, measuring up the windows, going back, putting it all on the laptop. I'll do a whole entire load calculation on site. I mean, I was completely comfortable invading people's space for as long as it took to get a good load calculation. But now you don't even have to do anything. It's so great. You're just walking through with the tablet, scanning the house. As long as you got the information, you still have to do your due diligence. That's a big thing about it. You got to look in the walls. You got to look in the attic. You got to put the blower door on. If not, then you might as well not do the thing, I think. But I mean, there is that, get your good idea for your change out type deal if it's an emergency situation and all that. But for the most part, it's great information to have on file for every one of your clients. Like if your techs are going out and doing a load calculation as part of the course of business, you're going to have a sales ticket on file for that house into perpetuity. I mean, you just are. That's the way they should be looking at that. So
absolutely. We've worked with some customers where we've done maybe one appliance like the furnace, only for them to be happy with the performance and call back the next year and get the air conditioner. And guess what? The load was already done. They haven't made any changes to their house. And
yeah, how great is it? And that is the cool thing, too. You're like, oh, yeah, by the way, we got some windows put in. Hold on. Let me add that in your load calculation and see where your load's at before we do this next thing or whatever. I mean, it really is a tool if people understand how to use it, a long-term sales tool if people understand how to use it the correct way.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm going to let you shout out anything you want to shout out, any kind of training, anything you got going on, tell the world about, and we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. But I appreciate you being on. This was an awesome conversation, man. We're going to have to do it again sometime.
No problem. It's I've been a fan for yours for a while. Like I said, we've been following each other, but it was actually cool to actually get up to hang out with you and pick your brain. No, I'm just pushing it forward. I'm loving the camaraderie of the industry. Everybody's working together. New products, awesome products are being pushed out. The information sharing is amazing. Like I said, hanging out with Dan, learning some stuff about heat pumps I didn't even know. It was pretty cool. So no, we're just in a good space, man. I'm happy to be here and happy to do what we're doing. As far as training, if people want to visit us, you can visit us at www.hvactraining.com. That's our technical training organization. We work with a lot of utility companies doing workforce training, and basically it's contractor focused, getting contractors to up those profits and get into the building science industry that is basically so understaffed and there's so much opportunity that I don't think we'll solve this in our lifetime. So we're just trying to get the message out to as many contractors as possible to get off the bench and get in the game.
100%. Speaking of game, one more question. You watch football? You a fan?
I do. Go Lions.
Okay, so we play all this year. Maybe I'll see you at the game. It's in the Bengals' house. It's a big game. I think like a Thursday night or something like that.
I will be there. You count me in now.
All right. Well, then we're doing this. We're doing it. It's official.
Yep.
Hooray. All right, man. You take it easy. I'll see you.
You too.
All right.
Take care.
Yep. Hey, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. If you'd like to learn more about the podcast or HVAC 2-Home Performance and any of our services, be sure to check us out on our website at HVAC2HomePerformance.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at HVAC2HP and find us on Spotify and Apple. While you're at it, leave us a review. The HVAC ADHD Vodcast is produced and edited by the team at Palm Tree Pod Co. Anthony Palmer is the executive producer. Bo Patton is our technical director. Nolan Gray is our audio engineer, and Caitlin Krings is the head of digital. The content for this episode is created by me. Hooday, go Bengals!